All right, time to prep for that electronics engineering technician interview. We've got RoleCatcher's guides to help us out.
Yeah, we'll cover how to tackle those tough interview questions, but also some cool career insights from the guide, too.
Nice. Okay, so first, what exactly does an electronics engineering technician DO? I mean, it sounds cool, but what's an average day actually like?
Hmm. Well, it's kind of like they're the ones making those engineering designs a reality, you know? You're working with the engineers a lot, but it's super hands-on, building stuff, testing it, troubleshooting equipment.
Ah, so you're saying they're the ones making sure all those circuits actually work out there in the real world.
Exactly. And the cool thing is you could be working in all sorts of industries, like aerospace, telecommunications, even medical devices. The guide mentions a ton of options.
Wow, so many paths you could take.
Huh.
Speaking of opportunities, the guide mentioned RoleCatcher has this AI that looks at job descriptions. So how does that help someone applying for these technician roles?
It's like a secret weapon. It figures out exactly what skills employers are looking for. So, you can tailor your application to show off the stuff that's most relevant. Let's say a job really emphasizes troubleshooting skills, right?
Right.
Well, RoleCatcher's AI might say, hey, highlight that project where you nailed that tricky circuit problem. It helps you connect the dots.
Ah, I see. Connecting your skills to what the employer wants. That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's say you've used RoleCatcher's AI. You've nailed the application. Now you're staring down the interview, and the guide's got us covered with sample questions.
Yeah.
Let's start with this first one. It's all about troubleshooting, which is super important. It asks, can you describe your experience in troubleshooting electronic circuits?
Okay, this is where you really show off how you solve problems. Think of a time you faced a really tough circuit issue and walk the interviewer through it. How did you find the problem? What tools and techniques did you use? You know?
What was that aha
Yeah.
moment when you finally figured out the solution?
Exactly.
So it's not just listing every circuit you've ever fixed. It's more like showing how you think critically and logically when things go wrong.
That's it. And you can even connect this to how your career could grow. The guide mentions that as you get more experience, you might even be leading troubleshooting for the team or mentoring newer technicians.
Oh, wow. So highlighting how well you can explain your process is really valuable.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to question number 2. This one gets specific. What experience do you have with surface mount technology, SMT assembly?
Ah, SMT. That's everywhere in electronics these days. It's all about those tiny components soldered right onto the circuit boards. Even if you haven't worked with SMT directly, though, you can focus on skills that carry over.
Oh, I see. Like what?
Well, maybe you've practiced soldering in a lab setting, or you've built a kit that involved really careful work with tiny parts. Highlight that kind of stuff and show you're eager to learn SMT techniques.
So even if you haven't mastered every single technology, it's about showing you have the basics and you're a quick learner.
Exactly. And you know what? You can even bring RoleCatcher's AI back into this. If a certain job really needs SMT experience, their AI might point that out. And it might even suggest ways to make your answers stronger, like highlighting projects where you were super precise and detail-oriented, which is crucial for SMT work.
Oh, that's so helpful.
Okay.
Okay, question number 3 hits a really important part of the job. How do you ensure compliance with safety regulations when working with electronic equipment? Seems pretty straightforward. But what's the interviewer really digging for here?
They want to see that you're not just blindly following the rules, you
Gotcha.
know? They want you to understand the why behind those regulations. So mention some specific regulations like OSHA. Yeah. And then talk about potential dangers, like electric shocks, burns, exposure to hazardous materials. Explain the steps you take to stay safe, using the right gear grounding equipment, following lockout, hagout procedures. You know, the drill.
So it's not just I wear safety glasses. It's showing you really get those safety protocols and why they matter.
Absolutely. And think about this. The career guide stresses clear communication, especially when you're working on a team. So showing that you totally get safety procedures, that also shows off your communication skills.
Wow, that's a great point. All right, next up is question 4. This one's about your design skills. Can you describe a project you worked on that involved designing an electronic circuit?
This is your chance to shine. Pick a project that shows off your whole design process. Walk them through the steps, figuring out the specs, picking the parts, building the prototype, testing how it works. Don't be afraid to get a little technical either. Explain those challenges you hit and how you got past them.
Like painting a picture of your engineering brain in action.
Exactly. And hey, remember how RoleCatcher's AI can be a big help.
Yeah.
Well, it might suggest tweaking how you describe that project to match the tech they mention in the job posting. For example, if they're looking for microcontroller experience, make sure to highlight any projects that involve programming those.
So connecting our project experience to what the employer actually needs.
Yep. It's showing you're not just into electronics, but you're smart about tailoring your skills to what they're looking for.
Love it. Okay. Question 5 tackles staying current. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies in electronics engineering? I mean, we're all on tech blogs and YouTube here, but what kind of answer would really impress them?
Well, those are good starting points. Interviewers want to see that you're taking a more structured approach to how you keep learning.
Ah, okay.
Mention industry publications you follow, conferences you've been to, online courses you've taken. Maybe you're even working on a specific certification, like the ones in the career guide.
This is about showing you're not just passively absorbing info, you're actively looking for ways to learn and grow.
Exactly. And guess what? RoleCatcher's AI can give you personalized advice here, too.
Right.
Let's say you're going for a job in a field that's changing super fast, like embedded systems. Their AI might suggest highlighting courses or certifications that are all about the newest embedded tech.
So tailoring our answer to what the job market actually needs right now.
You got it. All right, let's move on to question 6. This one's about something super critical in electronics. How do you ensure the quality of electronic components and materials used in your projects?
I'd probably start by not buying parts from that shady dude in the alley. But what else are they looking for here?
Haha, good point. You definitely want to make it clear you're using trustworthy suppliers and components that meet all the industry standards, but it goes deeper than that too. Discuss how you actually inspect those components for any flaws,
Right.
like visual checks comparing them to the data sheets. Mention any specific testing procedures you're familiar with too, like burn-in or environmental stress testing.
So it's about showing we get how important quality control is every step of the way.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answer to the specific industry you're aiming for. For example, if you're applying to a medical device company, you might want to highlight that you know about ISO 13485. That's a big standard for quality management in medical devices.
Gotcha. Okay, let's wrap things up with question 7. This one dives into a specific area. Can you describe your experience with RF circuits and systems? What if this isn't exactly our strongest area?
Even if you don't have tons of RF experience, you can still find those points of connection. Maybe you've studied RF theory in a class, or you've worked with circuits that have some RF components in them, like amplifiers or filters. Highlight any experience you have with signal processing or wireless communication, too. Those are closely related to RF.
Ah, so it's about drawing those connections,
Yeah.
showing you're adaptable and ready to learn new tech.
That's the key.
Hmm.
And here's one final tip from RoleCatcher's AI. If the job really requires specific RF knowledge, do some research on the company's products or projects, look for any mentions of RF technologies they use, and try to work that knowledge into your answer.
Wow, that's a really smart move.
Yeah.
It shows initiative and that you're genuinely interested in their work. Okay, this is all incredibly insightful. We've tackled all those technical questions head on, and it's amazing how RoleCatcher's AI can help us tailor our answers for maximum impact. I'm excited to see what other gems we uncover in the next part of our deep dive.
Me too. It's pretty cool how those technical questions often kind of mirror the career path of an electronics engineering technician.
Oh, yeah, totally. The guy did talk about the different stages you go through, from entry level to like senior technician roles. So how should someone think about that whole career progression when they're answering those interview questions?
Well, it all comes down to figuring out what's expected at each level, right? Like for an entry-level job, you want to show you're ready to learn and take on new stuff. But if you're going for a more senior role, you got to showcase leadership skills, maybe mentoring experience, and definitely your ability to handle those big, complex projects.
So it's tailoring our answers to where we are in our careers and where we want to choose.
You got it. And speaking of tailoring RoleCatcher's AI, doesn't just help you with the application. Did you know it can actually give you feedback on your interview answers, too?
Wait, really? It's like having a virtual interview coach.
That's a great way to put it. You can type in your answers to those common questions, and their AI analyzes them based on the specific job you're going for.
Wow.
It looks for keywords, checks your tone, even suggests ways to make your delivery better.
That's incredible. So it takes away some of the guesswork when you're prepping for those kind of vague behavioral questions. Speaking of which, the guide mentioned something called a competency-based interview directory on RoleCatcher. What's that all about?
Oh, that's a treasure trove of resources for those tricky behavioral questions, like, tell me about a time you failed. Competency-based interviews are all about how you've handled real situations in the past. And that directory gives you examples and tips on how to structure your answers using the STAR method.
Oh, right. Situation, task, action, result.
Exactly. It's not just about what you did, but how you explain it clearly and concisely. Highlighting your skills and what you learned.
Makes total sense. And we can use RoleCatcher's AI here too, right?
Yeah.
Practice our answers to those behavioral questions and get feedback that's specific to the job we're after.
Yep. It's like having a secret advantage going into that interview.
This is all making so much sense now.
Mhm.
It's not just about memorizing technical stuff.
Yeah.
It's about showing how you think,
Huh.
how you approach those challenges, and how your skills actually match what the employer needs.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And the best part is RoleCatcher's got all these resources to help you showcase your best self throughout the whole interview process.
I love that. Okay, so let's circle back to those technical questions for a sec. We talked about showing off your problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
but are there other ways to make those answers really POP?
Oh, for sure. Instead of just listing tools and procedures you've used, try painting a picture for the interviewer.
Hmm.
Walk them through a specific project. Highlight those challenges you faced and how you used your technical know-how to overcome them.
So turning those technical skills into stories that show our abilities in action.
Exactly. Stories are memorable, and they give the interviewer a glimpse into how you'd actually perform on the job.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help us refine those stories too.
All right.
Make them even more impactful.
You're getting it. Their AI can help you pick out those key details that'll really resonate with employers. And make sure those stories are both compelling and relevant to the job you want.
Okay, this is making me feel so much more confident about those technical questions. But there's more to acing an interview than just answering questions perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what about the other stuff? You know what to wear, all that.
You're totally right. We've focused a lot on what you say, but presentation definitely matters too. So let's talk about those practical things that can help you make a strong impression.
All right. So what's the dress code for an electronics engineering technician interview? Can I wear my Lucky Soldering Iron t-shirt?
Uh-huh. Well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. It's probably best to keep it professional, you know? A nice button-down shirt or blouse, slacks. Maybe a blazer or sweater. Those are usually good choices. And remember, the career guide talks a lot about attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure your shoes are clean and your overall look is neat and tidy.
Gotcha. No soldering fumes on my clothes either.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about bringing copies of my resume? Is that still a thing? I mean, everything's digital now.
It's always good to be prepared. Having a few copies shows you're organized and thoughtful. And definitely bring a notepad and pen to take notes. That shows you're engaged and interested.
Right. But maybe leave the soldering iron at home this time.
Probably a good idea. And of course, your phone needs to be on silent. We don't want any embarrassing ringtones in the middle of explaining something technical.
Oh, God, no. Absolutely not. Speaking of timing, let's talk about being on time. That's got to be super important.
It's crucial. Try to get there at least 10-15 minutes early.
But what if there's crazy traffic or the train's delayed? Things happen.
That's why you got to plan ahead. And give yourself extra time for those unexpected delays. Check the route beforehand. Think about rush hour. Maybe even do a test run if you've never been to that location. Being late is not a good look, so it's best to be over-prepared.
Okay. This is all starting to feel very real, but in a good way. It's like all those little details add up to this image of, professionalism and being prepared.
You got it. And even if you're feeling nervous, try to stay calm and collected.
Yeah.
Take some deep breaths, smile, make eye contact. Confidence goes a long way.
Yeah, easier said than done when you're sitting across from a panel of engineers.
Yeah.
But you're right, confidence is key. Do you have any tips for staying composed when you're feeling the pressure?
It's totally normal to feel nervous, but try to think of those nerves as excitement. Remember, you made it to the interview. They're already interested in you. See it as a chance to have a conversation about something you're passionate about.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm starting to see it less as an interrogation and more as a chance to connect with people who share my interests.
Exactly. And the interviewer is a person too. They're not trying to trick you. They just want to see if you'd be a good fit for the team. So relax. Be yourself. Let your love for electronics shine through.
This has been so insightful. We've covered everything from those technical questions to career advice to practical tips for making a good impression.
And we can't forget how RoleCatcher's AI tools can give you that extra boost throughout the whole process.
I feel like I'm totally armed and ready to conquer that interview. But before we send our listeners out into the world of electronics, Is there anything else we should cover?
Okay, so we've covered so much, from breaking down those tough technical questions to like how to present ourselves and all that. But before we wrap up this whole deep dive, is there anything else hiding in that role catcher guide that we haven't touched on yet?
Hmm. There's one more thing that can give you a real edge.
Research?
Research. You mean like beyond just understanding the job description and checking out their website?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm talking about digging deeper into the specific role and the tech they actually use. Like if the job posting mentions experience with certain programming languages or software tools, brush up on those before you go in.
So it's about going beyond the basics and showing we've put in the effort to understand their technical needs.
Exactly. Explore their website, read their blog posts, check out any industry news that mentions their work. That way you can tailor your answers to their specific challenges and projects.
It's like showing we're already thinking like part of their team.
Totally. You can even bring up some of your research during the interview. Ask thoughtful questions about their current projects or the tech they're using. It shows you're genuinely interested and you care about their success.
Okay, I'm seeing the value of going the extra mile with research. It's not just about impressing them with what we know. It's about showing we're proactive and we're on the same page with their goals.
Exactly. And speaking of alignment, remember how helpful RoleCatcher's AI can be. It can actually analyze the job posting and suggest some relevant industry trends or technologies for you to research.
So it's like a personalized research assistant,
Yeah.
guiding us towards the most important areas to look into.
That's a great way to put it. It helps you focus your efforts and make sure you're spending time on the stuff that matters most to the employer.
Brilliant. It's like we're building this awesome multi-layered strategy, from crafting those strong answers to presenting ourselves well and then showing we really understand the company and their work.
And you know what? This deep dive into research isn't just for the interview. It's for you too. It expands your knowledge, opens up new possibilities, helps you make smart decisions about your career path in this ever-changing field.
This whole conversation has been amazing. We've gone from kind of feeling intimidated by those interview questions to actually feeling excited about all the possibilities in electronics.
That's what I like to hear. Remember, you have the power to create your own success. With the right preparation and resources, you can walk into that interview with confidence and get that dream job.
I totally agree. RoleCatcher has given us a ton of great information and tools.
So to everyone listening, go explore their guides, practice those interview questions, use their AI, and get ready for an amazing career in electronics.
Awesome advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of electronics engineering technician interviews. We're confident you're now equipped to ace that interview and land your dream job. Until next time on the deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries in the incredible world of electronics.